Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll show you how to model a Coca-Cola can. It is pretty easy to model a Coca-Cola can, and texturing is quite straightforward too. I used a 2D map and painted textures in Photoshop. And for rendering I used Arnold Renderer. Before I start modeling real things, I like to set up a reference image to help me with the proportions of that particular object. To do this I place the reference image, I adjust the position, and set a lower brightness for the image. This way I can model the object, without the image plane irritating my eyes. Additionally, you can set up more references, especially ones with an angled object through the render options. This will allow you to see a perspective view of a realistic object, at all times through a small window. You can use this to set up multiple references within the same window. I'll go over this more on another video. Once you have set up all your references, you can move on to the fun part. Select your desired polygon primitive to get you started and begin adjusting its shape to match the object in the image plane. You can also minimize the render view reference if not needed. You can bring back this window anytime by clicking this. Make sure your model matches the reference, or something will look off. Make the height and width proper, then delete the top and bottom faces. Once this is done, you can extrude without worrying about double faces. Extrude and scale the edge to the point where its height and scale matches that of the image. This section needs to be extruded multiple times, so look carefully as I extrude and scale edges to form the top part of the can. There are many tiny extrudes that have to be done to get the look and feel of a can. I make the model transparent on the front view, so I can see whether or not is my model matching the dimensions of that in the image. I continue extruding the edges and then I bring back the minimized render window so I can complete the top part of the can, while using a reference. We will now fill the hole that's remaining on top. We do this by extruding and merging edges. There is a bit of a curve to this section, so I add an edge and scale it to match the reference. The basic shape of the can from the top is done, so I move on to the bottom portion of the can and I make more extrudes here, as I did with the top part. I did not get a reference for the bottom part of the can and I am shaping it based on my own imagination. The bottom part won't be visible in most cases, so I won't bother making it exactly how it is. I continue to extrude the edge to form an elevated portion at the bottom that will balance the can. I make sure the edge is not too high or low, and when I am satisfied with it, I fill the hole by extruding and merging edges like we did with the top portion. The basic shape of the whole can is now completed. Now we will add supporting edges and create the finer details by making certain areas sharper and certain areas more rounded. For this section, we will bevel the edge and adjust the value in the toolbox. This will give a nice fall off to the curve on this edge. We will do exactly the same thing, with the same values for the top edge. This will make the model look crisp and clean. Once this is done we go back to the bottom portion, and add an edge so we can make a curve on this section, exactly what we did on the top half, insert an edge, and then scale it to proportion. The model so far is looking pretty good. This one was pretty easy and quick. We just have to add supporting edges and minor details on the top portion, and we will be done with the can. Add supporting edges on every extruded edge. This will reduce the roundness. I noticed that in the reference image, the inner circle is slightly extruded from the middle, so we will replicate this. To do this, we select the full row of faces and scale it, and above it we will add an edge and adjust the position of it. Once I am done with that, I add supporting edges around this section. We have finished modeling the tin itself, and it looks good, but now we have to model the opener. Lower the subdivision before you start working on the basic shape. Use the cut tool to add edges in appropriate areas, and then delete unnecessary edges to maintain edge flow. Remove any remaining vertices left from the deleted edges, as they will distort the model and textures. Delete all the faces, keeping only the top faces which we will be working on. We will make the opener wider so that it will have appropriate dimensions. Once the base size is set, we will create a finger hole in the opener. First we have to create edges where this hole will be, while maintaining edge flow. After every edge that you add manually using multicut tool, make sure it is straight. Add more edges so you can manipulate the shape even more. Adjust these edges to manage the shape so that it matches the image. With this done, now delete the faces of the other side and copy it using Duplicate Special. This tool can help you duplicate objects on any axis effortlessly. We combine both the objects and scale both the edges into each other and then merge it. This will make both the object become one whole object. Bevel this edge to make it rounder, then adjust the edges around the area that will form the finger hole. Lastly, delete these faces so that the hole will be formed. In this area, we will adjust the edges so that it sort of forms an O shape. Then delete these faces, and continue adjusting the faces, so that they maintain edge flow. Keep adjusting the vertices by scaling or moving them to maintain the edge flow. Edge flow is very important in modeling, as it can be a reason to why your model may have dense or uneven surfaces. Edge flow can also affect the textures, as they may get distorted with bad edge flow. Continue adjusting edges till the shape is proper, then add more edges and refine the shape even more. We will continue to repeat this process as we model more and more, as we try to adjust the edge to make the O area loop together. As I adjust the edges, I realize I need to add another edge so that the edge loops as a O. However, after adding the edge, there is now a face with 5 edges, so we have to delete an edge to bring the face back to quads. We delete the edge and vertices on the bottom portion, as well as the top. Now we have minor adjustments to do. Once we complete it by scaling and moving vertices, we add an edge and then adjust this edge. Now we will create an edge loop. We have to manually create the edges, so that it wraps around each individual hole. Once this is done, merge the 3 vertices on top and bottom. We will delete the tries, add edges and then delete the vertices. That will leave us with a nice clean mesh. This O area has to be a bit lower than the rest of the model, so we will adjust the elevation. With that out of the way, I notice the edge flow on the right is not good, so I begin adjusting the vertices. I will just space out the edges from each other, and change the angle of it so that it's not facing the same direction. Now I begin adding supporting edges in the O area. I do this first on the inner part, and then I do the same for the outer part. With this done, I add an edge in the middle of the O. I will use this edge to make it curvier. I'll adjust the vertices of the O again to make it rounder. Then I delete the supporting edge I had made earlier along with its vertices, as the mesh was cluttering up. Now I'll adjust the right part a bit as I feel the hole is not big enough for a finger to fit through it. With the entire geometry now complete, I'll select all the outer edges, including the ones with the holes, and I'll extrude it downwards to give it depth. Now I'll scale these edges so that the edges are level with each other. Now we just have to duplicate this on the y-axis, using Duplicate Special, and then adjust the position of both these objects, if needed, so that the outer edge of both objects are aligned. Now combine the objects, and in front, or side view carefully drag over the middle edge, and then merge it. The tin opener is pretty much finished. All we have to do is give it some supporting edges wherever it is required. Then we will come out of isolation, and adjust the position and the scale. We will match it to that of the tin. The tin is looking pretty good, but we are not yet done. One last tiny detail is left. There is sort of like a screw that is holding the opener to the tin, so we'll make that really quick. These tiny details really help a model stand out, so don't get lazy and leave out even a tiny detail. For this object, we'll model a simple button. Just scale it according to your liking and give it supporting edges, and that's it. Just drag it into place and scale it if needed. With this, the modeling part of the Coca-Cola tin is complete. Stay tuned for the next part, where I will show how to do the UV and the textures. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you all for watching, take care and stay tuned for more.